Welcome to the Moon God Pod. I'm your host, JwowLax, and today I've got a special guest, Blu30rgy. He is a friend of the Aku program. He is a good friend of mine, and we always kind of seem to run into each other uh,
Yep.
interesting fashions, and we'll get into our IRL event stories in a moment. But welcome to the show, and right out the gate, um, we got to come up with the handle. What's the origin story behind the handle?
Oh, we got to jump right in. Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. This is awesome. Sunday morning. It's a chill morning. Was out late last night with Timmy Trumpet show. Was good on that. So yeah, let's jump right in. Blue Orgy. I don't know. Should we give it away at the beginning, or should we make them wait? We'll make them wait till near the end, so they have to listen to the whole podcast. Otherwise, they just jump off. You know.
Okay. We'll bait it because I'll just sit there and say, like, when we first met and stuff, and now, like, every time I look, when we're chatting and like the DMs and stuff, and it just pops up like Blu30rgy, and it's just
Yeah.
like it's as if I'm like getting spammed. But that's awesome. So interesting stories, like you know we we've kind of crossed paths a number of times, and obviously, like, the biggest connection I think is the Aku project,
Yeah.
and we are the Moon God Pod. um let's go back before we get to Aku, and
Mhm.
what was your foray into the whole NFT space?
Uh, I'll go back even further than that a little bit to preface it. I went to art school in Boston.
Mm.
But before that, I was kind of a tech guy. I wanted to develop stuff, and and even high school, I started like coding and stuff like that. But I thought it was really boring, and at the time, it kind of was. So I'm like, why don't I just go to art school? I got the grades. I worked hard in school, and I didn't really have much of a portfolio, but I pulled it together, went to mass art, and went down that path, and then it just led me right back to coding, of course, because it was 2009 and Flash came out, and these games started coming in the App Store, and it was like the perfect timing, the perfect storm of like art and technology kind of coming together finally. And so I did a pivot and jumped right into that. And the first thing I did is right out of school, well, during school, I made beer pong for the iPhone. That's how I kind of started, and it did really well. It had like 200 million downloads.
Yeah.
It was free, so I didn't make a ton of money or anything. I'm not saying I made $200 million or anything, but I made enough to start a company where I could kind of do my own thing.
Wow.
And so that led to just creating games and working with technology. And then I saw this crypto stuff. I'm like, "Yeah, this is super interesting. You know, I have time, I could actually dive into it." So I started building my own rigs, just to mine some stuff, just to give it a shot. Because I used to build computers, for gaming back in the day.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, so it was amazed me. I built this thing out of just parts. I bought the parts online and put it together. And I had this little, black and white prompt coming up, and it said, you mined 1 Ethereum. And I was like, this is amazing. I fell in love with it because it was just, I just, something just came out of nowhere. Not trackable, and like no one knew I did it. I just had, my electricity bill was ridiculous, but and it wasn't really paying for itself. But yeah, so that's kind of how where I dove right into crypto. Uh, but sadly, there was a gap there where it went up to like it was at $6. It went up to like 20, and I'm like, I'm gonna sell. This is a crazy awesome profit. I sold, and I sold all my equipment for a profit because the equipment went up in price because the gamers and the demand for the cards and everything, that big spike
Right.
in like 2015, 2016. And then from there, I missed it because like right at that moment I could have went down the NFT path, but I don't know why I just didn't see it. So I kind of missed that very, very early OG stuff,
Hmm.
which would have been amazing. But a couple years later, since I was already in that world and I had some Ethereum, I was looking for what can I do with this? And all of a sudden people just started talking about NFTs, NFT that, NFT that. It's 2020, mid mid 2020.
Were you aware of like NFTs like in 2015, 2016? Like,
No, no, I think sadly, like maybe I heard him, but maybe I just it was a whisper that went by me, and I because otherwise it makes perfect sense for me. I'm a tech guy that went to art school.
right, right. It's your
I
wheelhouse.
got screwed, really. No one told me, and otherwise I would have done what I do now, which is I love them and I go full in, and I would have been a complete degenerate then as I am now. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, whatever, that's fine. I got in pretty early, uh, mid 2020. And
Hmm.
then I started, finally bought my like a first crypto punk late 2020. So it was, it was like 2, 3, 5 Ethereum, it was a little, it was at that, where it was jumping up. So I
Right.
got it on the jump up. I didn't get super, super early. And then,
So
yeah,
is the
never-
punk the first NFT that you bought?
I bought some, and I'm just, it was funny. I knew we were having the show. I was like, I should go back and remember what my first purchase was. I think might have been an Axie.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, Axie, I think was my first purchase, and then I kind of went in so many directions. I don't like. I was looking at my wallet to go way back, and I was making big purchases at first because I thought that's what you wanted to do. So I just,
Hmm.
I was looking for a CryptoPunk. Early on, I looked for X copy because I just loved X copy, and
Hmm.
obviously he was already hype in his work. So I just made some big purchases at the beginning, and then I very quickly moved towards finding Genesis pieces from people. I really liked supporting new artists. So I thought, maybe that could be my thing that I do is like support a new artist and get their Genesis piece and get them kicked off because it was just moving so quickly. And even at the very beginning, I made a couple purchases and then I started building my collection. And Blu30rgy, people are always like, okay, who's this Blu30rgy guy? He's on. I was on Nifty a lot, buying, competing with Han and 33 and all those guys and uh trying to snag pieces, and I love those early auctions, like someone beat you, but then if you lost an auction it like sucked. Like
Yeah.
it was the worst feeling ever. uh but it was just so much fun back then, so that's kind of, and
There was,
then Nifty also led to Aku. So like I was a big Nifty collector, which led to buying the Aku very early. So that's kind of my path in.
there was definitely the it's funny because it's like what, like, well, now it's like 3 years ago, 3 years ago, and it feels like forever ago, you know.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
They this the auctions were really interesting, and Aku in their Genesis piece also, the we all know the hallway, but there was
Yeah.
also the statues, and
Yes. Yeah.
so the first nine, I believe, were like a just like a silent bid auction, and you just had to guess and how much you're
Yeah.
willing to pay. But then the vault piece was the really the first auction that I saw in real time. They kind of went crazy where we were like, like, wow, like there's some big boy moves, like, and it was the weirdest thing just watching it update,
Yeah.
because like I was watching it with Lovelock, and we were like, I forget who, like I'm sure 33 was in it, and but some of the bigger names, it was just like it was almost like watching a fight, because like it
Yeah.
it would go up by like 20-30 bucks, but then someone would come in and boom, like it's like $3,000 more, and it's like he's not messing around, like
Yeah. Yeah,
weirdest
that
thing.
yeah, that was a lot of fun. I mean, like I said, I couldn't compete with some of these guys. They just had seemingly limitless banks, probably
Mm.
from very early crypto buying. I think that's mostly where all these big bidders came from. And I like to inject Blu30rgy where I could, and I won a couple, but and then I think that was the move to do. It was to make a statement that's, bam, like, oh, it's $500. F it, I'm gonna do 3,000. And
Yeah,
then let's see if that stops it. But then someone always puts that $1 over you or something like that. And
that's
it's just like, damn.
that
But
clock starts again. So
clock starts again. Yeah.
with Aku, like in the Genesis piece, like I guess I'm gonna assume that you were just really active on Nifty. So when
Mhm.
it pops up, what are you thinking? What are you seeing? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I got the Genesis piece, and like I was saying, telling you earlier, but it was really cool. I just thought, I mean, for me, when I see something visually in it, the hallway, and it just looked really cool, and I'm like, this is interesting. So I looked a little bit further into it, and Micah and all that, and I said, this is something I can get behind. This looks really cool. So of course, on Nifty, I was collecting not everything, but well, actually, when that came out, I was coming down on my hype, so I was like being a little more selective on my Nifty purchases because otherwise, I was just buying everything, every single thing that dropped on Nifty at one point because I just like loved it.
hmm
Uh, but I thought it was a really cool message. I liked what was going on, so I went, yeah. First time was just an easy buy for me, just to pick it up. Um, yeah,
right at that time, which was certainly like the peak, it was just, I had my alarm set every day for
yeah,
a drop. And I started getting a little bit more selective after that, but it just seemed like everything, everything you bought, even the open editions, like a
oh
couple
yeah,
hours later, you know, I, I fell into, I have certainly some of the stuff that I have from those days too, now where I'm just like, yep, should have definitely gotten rid of that, like,
oh yeah. We should have sold everything at
yeah.
one point, and then just rebought, even if that was a smart move. I mean, I think I remember the moment it was Sergito. I was with Sergito and Ness Graphics, and we were just having lunch in like Denver. And Sergito was like, "Now's the time to sell everything. It's great. You can buy back in if you love art." And I'm like, "Yeah, I just want, but I'm like, I'm gonna hold. I love the art. I'm gonna hold." He's like, "All right." So I say I can remember that because Sergito's like, this is the moment he sold everything and rebought a bunch of stuff. And look at him, you know, but he's got the smart financial play to, he's got that knowledge. I'm just a art collector, I guess, and less of And when I talked to someone the other day, they're like, "How much do you sell and buy?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't sell and buy that much. I
hmm
sell the occasional so I could buy some more art." He's like, "Well, you're not really a DGen then." I was like, "Well, that's what we call ourselves." And I was like, "No, you're an art collector." And I said, "Okay." I do like that. So I'm kind of saying a little bit more than I'm an art collector because I don't really flip stuff. I don't sell and buy as much. Like I said, just occasionally. So yes, I'm a DGen that loves to buy it and buy and buy, and I'm hold and auto and all that stuff. But I really like that someone recognized that and called me an art collector. I thought it was really cool.
So there's
So,
there's a lot of things going on in the space right now, and it just seems like every day, like
yeah,
the doodles. I don't know if you're in the doodles.
I
I,
don't have a doodle, no.
I'm just kind of curious, like because I like how you bring up like the degen versus like the collector, and you know we talk on this show a lot of times, like I think especially in discords and group, communities, like yeah, there's a passion. I think Aku is quite original in that
Yeah,
there's a passion for like the movement and the overall meaning. Um, but at the end of the day, utility and this idea of investor versus collector, you know,
yeah,
but we don't have stock. Nobody has stock in any of these projects, or projects like so. It's kind of there's like, why isn't my stuff worth more? It's like, well, you didn't really collect it for the art, you know.
yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
what was the real reason? And it gets, I always laugh like sometimes more so before. Now there's so much blood in the street, but it's like, oh, the community is so great. It's like, yeah, when the floor price is high, the community is awesome. You know,
Community is awesome. Yeah,
what's the community like when it's where we're at now? So I pose this to you, especially with art, like, and I want to use this one as a subject. Pack. What is your
yeah.
pack
Um,
like?
Pack. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know. We were at the People event. We saw the black screens, which was actually like 1 minute of the 100-year GIF, right?
yeah.
That he made, which I found out later when I know we were making fun of it at the moment, but uh, some of his art in the stuff he's created, I really love. Like,
Mhm.
and that's just separate from all the bad stuff. I know there's a ton of bad news about Pac, but the pieces I have from him, I absolutely love. Complexity and the 100 cubes, and yeah, those cost a lot of money. And I got the complexity for being the top buyer. And I have a couple other pieces by him, and I went down the path of getting a bunch of his stuff because I actually was connected to it. I really liked, the style and the way it moved and the way its presence. So like I don't have it yet, but for complexity, I want to get it on my wall and I'm never going to sell it. So I
Mhm.
don't care. But personally, I don't care what the price is because
Right.
I'm going to love it on my wall. I collected it. Um, but you never know with him, they uh,
Yeah.
they could come back and all those people that are, upset because of what he did. Um, I get it. I completely get it. You invested in him as an artist and you see that come back to you. But if you're really into it, then just hold on because you never know. The market could shift on him once something if he does something crazy again.
Mhm.
And some of his stuff, if you bought super early, like cubes, I bought them right when you bought them. And if you bought them, they're still up like 20x if you really think about it, because you bought them for $100 and you could still sell them for $2,000 or something like that right now. I didn't look at the floor, but and
Mhm.
it's really interesting to see with that. I'm even in like a small Telegram group. When he had the Ezra Miller play him in New York, and I grabbed the phones off of him. I'm in that like group chat called Hush, and we're still waiting on. Supposedly, we're supposed to get a unique piece each that were in that group,
Yeah.
and it's the Telegram hasn't been deleted, but 4 people have left since then. They just left this, so now it's down to 29.
Wow.
But it's super interesting to me, and yeah, I guess that's kind of my take on Fox. So yeah,
I just find it interesting. Like the merge thing, it's like a dot, like
yeah, yeah,
there's a gamification. Um, it's just interesting. Like again, it goes back to, are you in it for the art or were you in it for, you know,
yeah. Were you in for the concept? Were you in for because it's a dot, so you have to be in it for the understanding, the backing of it, and most people weren't, and they didn't understand that, and
Mhm.
they bought a dot thinking, I'm just going to 10x my money in a couple of days, because that's what happened to the cubes, and the cubes are still holding, like I said. So they're like, okay, even with all this FUD, look at his stuff is still 10x on that. So why can't my dot 10x? And it might take 10 years for it to 10x. I'm sorry for anybody listening that holds some, but
Yeah.
eventually, if it goes down low enough, and it did, people merge and merge and merge. That's the idea, right? It goes down to you just a couple dots left. If some people really want them, and there's only 100 or 200 people left and they just won't sell, then there's your supply demand that all of a sudden it's back up. But don't hold your breath, and that's no financial advice. If you want to buy a dot off the floor, go for it. But yeah, that's a long play. Remember, that's a very long play in my opinion. So yeah.
So Art Basel, 2021. You've got one of the most unique Aku merchandise pieces here,
Yeah,
with
very
the
cool.
hoodie. There you go. Where were you at in the Aku journey? Like, did you go to Art Basel like with a definitely like an intention, like, oh, I got to check out Aku, or was it just one of many?
No, no, I that was really wanted to check out Aku, like, and not just I know we were talking about earlier, but like I wasn't able to collect the full set early. I missed one, and then I got another one, and so yeah, huge regret. And back, like I said before, so I'm not like a moon god or anything, but I was able to collect a bunch of them, and I have a Kutars, and and I love my collection and the work I've collected. But yeah, but I just thought it was really cool and build this space where everybody goes, and I was like, we have to go there.
Mhm.
So it was definitely on the agenda with nothing else next to it, because during Art Basel, my calendar was quadruple booked because that year was just insane. There was too many events. You couldn't go to all of them. You wanted to see everybody. But that's one event where we had a time slot and nothing else was blocking it. So it was just awesome.
So which chapter are you missing?
Oh, I don't even now I don't know. I think probably the hard one. I forget now. 3, is it?
Yeah.
I didn't look through my whole, yeah, 3, right? Yeah.
Well, now's the best time to get it since like that's the one that it's finally come down to earth, and like everything, like prices just in general
Yeah.
have come
Is
down.
there any alpha there? Should I go and collect, make sure I have my full set?
Of course. Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean,
I love collecting. I like having a complete set of things. So yeah.
there's only 500 moon gods ever.
Yeah.
Now there are the mega moon gods for the Akutars,
Yeah.
um, and they will have like they're working on like finalizing the full commercial rights for that. So that's
Yeah.
going to be big news, probably coming out this week. Uh, I'm a big fan of obviously what Micah's doing, and I think my vision is that the Moon God channel is and will be like one of the exclusive like masterminds,
Mhm. Yeah.
um, provided like Micah his vision tracks the way we all believe it will. You
Yeah.
know, then this Moon God area with only being 500 is pretty exclusive, and there's some hard hitters in there. There's some big
Yeah.
names, the Prankskis and the Dinglings, and you know
Hmm.
so it's cool. I trying to I always kind of look at other communities, and I've always Aku has just been number one for me. you
Yeah.
know um I've been a part of other communities, and like I said, it's everything's puppy dogs and rainbows until that floor price stalls, or as most starts tanking. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
No, I think definitely the Kua and Micah, what he's gone through with the different, ups and downs with the project, as we all know, all the downs. Um, Being strong and sticking to it and having a vision is definitely why Aku with Micah stands out to me. I think, as like you're saying, there's only a few projects and communities, as I know we use the word, community as long as the floor price is up. But I think there's real communities. Couple that I'm in, like Missing Watcher and the Threesomes Project. If we can get to that if you want, but that's the Tezos world, uh, where it's just a really, really unbelievably strong community, built on art and utility. I think that's really important. And like you said, if you could be able to be a part of like a Moon Gods where like-minded people come together and have a big collective brain that is has a positive vibes there. So I'm 100% on that. Yeah.
when you when you hear like utility, like
Yeah. Utility.
that's such a it's like a hot triggered word, because it's I'll say, I'll like just kind of keeping it Aku related. Like for me, I want to like I have my ideas on what I want to see Aku. Like for me, the most important thing is like being a character like on the big screen, like the Black Panther, like a Disney type of character.
Yeah.
They have all these different verticals that they're pursuing, and like the charity and like helping the community is obviously what this is all about. But you know like the education is an important vertical. I just want to see it. I feel like it's kind of like make it here, you know
Yeah.
and then all the charity becomes so much easier, like when you're
Yeah.
trying to do it at the same time. I think you can kind of get distracted, like
Yeah.
I don't know. And
No,
as
definitely.
far as like when you hear of like utility, like what does that really mean? Because like I'll give a good example, like NBA Top Shot. You know,
Yeah.
oh, utility. That I feel like that's where the first buzzword of it came. And if it means like me having a big collection means I get to tickets to a basketball game, like that doesn't do anything for me. I don't want you know um like I don't want Marcus Smart's sneakers or jersey. Jason Tatum maybe.
Tatum's smart. You don't want smart. I'll do the Boston accent, but yeah.
So what do you and you're in some interesting groups as well, like with the artists, like you mentioned Ness, and
Mhm.
he's come kind of under fire, before about like utility, and he's like, hey man, I'm an artist.
Yeah. 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 Alex is Ness is he's truly just he's a brilliant artist, and he just likes to have fun and create, and has a passion for creation. And I think he just, yeah, he had he for a couple of years, or I think he said a year, he was working on that Money Go Burn, all the money stuff he's been doing recently that he came under fire for. And then
Mhm.
when he does a meme tweet of a G-Wagon, everybody's like, what the hell? And he's like, that is, and when you talk to him and you're hanging out with him, you realize that that's not him. He's a homebody. Uh, he does amazing work for not only just the space here, but music and TV and um, amazing graphics. And yeah, he had this idea for a long time, and it kind of just he just got one. He said he got extremely lucky with the timing because he already had this planned, and then this open edition things happens. He says, "Okay, I guess I'll just do it now," and he's pretty much the top. He just hit it. He hit the top. You
Yeah,
know,
he came in.
the perfect timing.
Yeah,
Yeah, but utility for him is that you get more pieces, and he didn't expect it to do what it did. Okay, but it did, and I was like, okay, now I'm just going to keep on trying to build that and let people burn and get some really awesome pieces. So I think he's fulfilling the utility in that utility to get more pieces by him from artists that you love. So that's one of the utilities. Yeah,
I won't say I think Ness is one of the true artists in the space. I think there's a gang of people that you know put this thing out, maybe with probably 100% good intentions, and
yeah,
then they're required to like start a business or like utility or X.
yeah,
It boggles my mind to sit there and think like this is so out of whack. Like typically you have a great business idea, then you go to Silicon Valley or the VCs and get funding. This was just like, give me money, give me money. Oh, now I've got to make a big business. Now I've got to
yeah,
be an
yeah,
entrepreneur and like that's not, it seems pretty ass backwards for a lot of projects. And that's why we
yeah.
have so many rugs, I think, too.
Yeah, they can't really handle. I mean, in Ness's case, for that, it was very stressful for him. He had to get offline and chill. And I was texted talking to him, and he's like, "Yeah, I just needed a minute after that. I didn't expect that." And I think that happened to a lot of artists. And they, you know, in the core of it, for a lot of the artists, sorry for there's a bunch of beeping. I live right in the middle of the street, Newbury Street in Boston, so you hear some beeping in the background. Um, yeah, a lot of artists saw the opportunity, and a lot of artists aren't making that much money. You remember that you look at their art, they've had some great sales, and they're great artists. But if you really look at their timeline, they haven't been making a lot of money. And some of these, that's what they do. They're artists, and that's what they do. So they're like, okay, I need to, this better or worse, I need to make some money now. So I'm going to do an open edition. Everyone's buying them. It's hype. I mean, just not a cash grab per se, but it also didn't work for everybody. So it was they put some heart and soul into some of these open editions, and no one bought them, or
Right.
you got lucky and there was a trend, and you got your 300K or 200K, and some people only got 50K or something. And remember, it's that NFTs and digital art and collectibles definitely brought the age of the artist, as we all talk about, into the forefront. Instead, you be alive and be paid instead of dying and then having your work be valuable 100 years later, right? So this is a great opportunity, but it's also, there's a lot of artists out there, and I think this might have been good and bad for some of the artists. They see these open editions, they see Ness making $1 million or something, or people, I know people blew up that number, and he's like, I didn't make that much money, and people are just blowing it up more and more and more, and it's like, you got to remember taxes and whatever.
Right.
But
Right.
I think, yeah, like I said, good and bad in that. So
Well, that's the irony, right? Like before all this, it was like the starving artist,
yeah,
and now it's like, man, this is a great opportunity. Artists can finally, like, you can actually finally be proud to tell your parents,
yeah, I'm an
get an
artist. Yeah.
art degree, and like I always joked and said, like, if I ever had a kid and he wanted to go to, a big private school and became an art major or an English major, just no. And I say that I'm an English major,
Yeah, and I'm an art major. So yes. Like,
so,
oh, don't do that. You should be a doctor or something. Be an engineer. be
Yeah.
something that the world might need, but
Well, the world's changed so much now,
oh
right?
yeah,
Like if you legit wanted to be a business person, I'd be like, watch YouTube videos. Don't go to business school. Like as
yeah.
silly as that sounds. But now, if you want to be a doctor, please don't watch YouTube videos. Like go and actually learn, at the
Yeah,
medical
please learn, but then the conversation I think with AI and robots and ChatGPT,
hmm
the art, maybe the artist role. And I know a utopian future where everybody kind of does what they want and their passion and contributes to society. And really all the jobs that no one should really have are all robots and AI and automated stuff. And we're all artists and intellectuals or whatever. It's a very interesting path. I know that we can go that way, but it truly with the so many conversations in this way that growing older population, less kids, population going down, jobs need to be replaced by robots in reality because we just don't have enough people to do them.
hmm
And then we need AI to help us do things more efficiently and faster with less population. So I mean, I know you said we can go in rabbit holes. Like that's like 5 rabbit holes. You could pick one if you want to go down it, but it's such an interesting time. Uh,
my whole Twitter timeline is Chat GPT-4. Like,
you saw my recent one that's got some it kind of blew up my
yeah,
Fidenza one that I put out there. Uh, and just to have it clear on the podcast, I just fake that, and people all think it's real. I
yeah,
get DMs from people. This is unbelievable. I'm like, I just took a screenshot of Fidenza and I wrote that ChatGPT did it,
yeah,
and they absolutely love. People love it. Some people get it right away. Like Claire, Claire DM me. Of course, she's like, yeah, I don't think this is real. I'm like, no, it's not real.
that's
Um, yeah, but I went down a rabbit hole and I'm generating. I'll later on look on my timeline because I have some really interesting stuff. I'm actually using ChatGPT to generate prompts and then build code to create generative art. So
wow.
I think it's fascinating. The art kid in me is loves it. I love the creativity.
Well, I think even like just it, to take it back just to the NFT space in general.
Yeah,
Like when I talk to uh, the normies, I guess, and I'll see those NFTs, Beanie Babies, tulips, and stuff, and it's like, the internet was around for years, and Brian Gumbel's still sitting there, you know,
yeah,
fad on national television, and people making fun of it. Same thing with social media, like why is anybody on MySpace, or posting pictures of their food? How dumb is that? And
yeah.
it's just it takes a while for the adoption. Although I do think it's accelerating, like it doesn't take as long. Um,
Moving much quicker. Yeah,
yeah,
and like Gary V, I think like you just said, Gary V points that stuff out, and he said how long it takes, and but it's shrinking, how fast things are moving and growing. So the exponential chart of technology is also our direction as a society, I guess, or something like that.
well, YouTube goes from being like an online version of America's Funniest Home Videos with
Yeah,
cat videos and stuff to now like the greatest resource on the planet. Like I literally had to change a headlight on my car, and I Google like I YouTube the year, the model, change a light bulb, and boom, and it's some guy, I don't know, in
some
probably
guy.
Alabama. It's
Yeah,
like we're gonna do a video on how to change this, and I'm like, what?
there you go.
like like there's somebody out there that has put a video up of something, uh
And yeah, institutional knowledge from these people just spread through society, that which is just fantastic. And then yeah, Jet, you could not to bring it back, Chat GP, you could say the same thing and it would bring up this is the best video, to
yeah,
use on YouTube,
yeah,
which is just crazy, or explain it to you right there. But it's yeah, we were around because I remember the very beginning of YouTube, like the iPhone, the games, they're like, oh, the iPhone's gonna be a fad. There's apps, what are these app games? No one's gonna want to, it's a fad. And YouTube and everything. That was so cool to grow up, like have be my college years transition. Like I think our generations in
mhm,
this bubble grew up with like no technology, and then a life of technology. which
Right.
is just fascinating. A lot of people now are growing up just in the technology. Very, very different than a lot of us in this this age range in between. It's really
We're kind of in that perfect. Sometimes I think it's a sweet spot where we can say like before the internet,
yeah, yeah.
and I man, the kids today, me
Oh no, now we're sounding old.
my porch and stuff,
Yeah.
just even like movies, like I finally have hit that age where, like it's like, wow, you remember in Shawshank Redemption? And they're like, oh, I've never seen it. Is that one of those
What?
classics? It's like,
Yeah.
you know,
Mind blown.
yeah.
Yeah.
I want to touch on the app, and
Oh.
you've done this beer pong app. Was there, like, when you kind of mentioned about how like that was going to be a thing, like when you were doing that, were there similarities to this space that you see like in that,
Mm. A little
and
bit, but it was different because it almost, yeah, it was new. I know NFT space and all that was new, but it kind of grew over time. Here, it was like a big bang almost compared to a more of a, even though you could definitely, people that jumped in the NFT space and crypto are like, this is a big bang. If you really look back, like where technology and like what Steve Jobs was doing with the technology so quickly, and then it was a big bang where it's like, okay, now everything's in your hand. Like all of a sudden the iPhone comes out, it's a big bang, in my opinion. It's like there it is. People didn't really get it immediately, but when that came out, it just I was watching the live demo and he's showing the phone, and I'm what am I like 16 or whatever, 17, and it blew me away. It said this is going to change my life. This is going to change everyone's lives. And I told my parents to sell their house and invest in Apple. I told everybody to just max out their credit cards and buy Apple stock now, which hindsight, yes, you should have done all that stuff. You should have been homeless for a year. You'd be a billionaire. But they said I think my mom bought 100 shares or something like that, and she 100 extra money.
wow,
But it's not a ton of money. She's like, yeah, this is my best investment, up 3,000%, which is hilarious. But yeah, at that time there was they launched with like 100 apps, right? I
right,
wasn't in the first 100. I was very close. I had in there. I had a game called Ninja, which was just a little ninja on the bottom. You'd use the accelerometer and he
Mhm.
would avoid shurikens coming down at him. And that was like my first game. And it almost got in the store. And if it did, every one of those developers, I was in little chats online, they all made millions of dollars just because they were on the first iPhone,
Wow.
right when it launched. And I missed that window by a couple months. But again, I just saw the space and I jumped in. And yeah, and to wrap it back to NFTs, very similar to like once I saw NFTs in the space, I did the same thing. Like this is going to change everything. Not It wasn't as impactful as the iPhone, I think, for me, but I saw how major it was going to be, so I jumped right in. The same kind of approach, you know.
Yeah, Steve Jobs is interesting because, I mean, genius, but I think there's a lot of like NFT projects and creators that it's like, man, like, you know, you want your project like Aku, we want more eyeballs on it.
Yeah,
There's just there wasn't Jobs was probably the best at just presenting something, and it was
yeah,
fun because
yeah.
for years, like he would present the new iPhone, and it was the exact same phone, but the presentation, was just like, whoa, we got to get the newest phone, and like
Oh, we gotta, and I wanted every new phone because he
you
was
need
up there, and we
it's
need the Steve, Micah could be the Steve Jobs, we need him to, yeah, like I think you were saying before, get it up here so
Mhm.
that charities will come in easier. And if you had like a Steve Jobs presentation of a coup with a coup world with like 10,000 people all going to screaming, when the coup space helmet comes out and there's a kid or something, I can imagine that to be really really cool.
So
You get the eyeballs.
it's like if it comes to the idea of like making an impact. Like I always kind of wanted to be like a school teacher. I just didn't want to be poor. Like I'm
Yeah,
sorry if that offends somebody, but like,
yeah,
and and so it's kind of like, how can I make an impact in other ways? And for me, like, I wrote a book, I did a lot of social media, and I
Yeah.
like would speak at conferences and things like that. And that, like I'm reaching, just as many kids, you know, doing that as opposed to like being in the classroom,
Yeah.
not to sit there and say like teachers, aren't important or anything, or to minimize. It's just a different kind of impact. And, like when a celebrity or something is able to donate millions and millions of dollars, you did this vertical, now you can help that vertical. And that's, that kind of goes to where I was saying. Um, I do
Yeah.
want to, we're running a little short on time this Sunday morning, but
Yeah.
the IRL events,
Ah, yes. Yeah.
like, so I was sitting there thinking, I was like, did we first meet at Nessa's pizza party in New York?
Yeah, I think so. That's the first
With
time we met. Yeah,
Scuffy,
I believe so.
Scuffy, and
Yep, Scuffy, that was awesome. That was such a good event. Just a small group of us, but it was just, yeah, I met you. That's the first time I really got well, I met Ness online and
yeah,
Snuffy, but then once it was in real life, it hit different. And that's where I really understood. And yet I know you agree that for me, in real life is and the people you meet are really, well, the utility, but the value of
yeah,
collecting these, this amazing art. You get amazing art, and you get to have a friendship with someone that's going to be lifetime friendships. I can already tell they're cemented in there. You know,
hmm
just fantastic. I love in real life. So,
Well, and we were coming. Well, we were still in COVID because I believe we had an outbreak from not just that party, but everything else that was going on.
yeah, just in general, I don't think it was, it just happened to be, but
Well, New York,
yeah,
so we do that. We do Art Basel, both of which we've talked to other guests about. What's unique for you though is our recent meetup,
yeah,
and first I'm not going to throw Ness under the bus too hard, but I had a hard time getting my ticket approved. Like the woman running the gate, and this is where we ran into each other,
yeah.
and I was just like, oh, come on, like, and she finally gives me my pass, and then good old Ness, who has his art being displayed at this show, and the woman is giving him a hard time trying to find his pass. That was so hilarious to
That
me.
was funny. He's like, is yeah, because yeah, the Ryan or someone else, a couple of the artists who were showing they were a big part of the show, like Ness and but the people at the door, they don't know that this is
Oh,
Ness Graphics, so they're just like, who's this guy? Who's this kid? You're not. I don't see you on the list. He's like, people just tweeted to come see my stuff. I thought that was funny, but we're lucky. I think it was all a nice staff, and they
yeah,
figured it out and they got us in. We all, and I like again, we are. You talk about community. I think we all were waiting to make sure that all of our friends could get the passes, and we weren't getting on the bus. I was like, we'll get the next bus. We'll
yeah.
wait to make sure everybody can get in because we don't want to leave you behind. So that
So
was
where does the Beeple rank as far as your IRL experiences?
I think I love them a lot, but I think the Beeple event, I think I was telling you, was one of the best events I've ever been to in my life. Over other like lots of events, different, not even NFT space, just like events in general. And I won't go down a rabbit hole like the things I've been to. I've been to some really amazing events, and this just topped it for me. I think being I'll steal what Cody said as he was on a Spaces the other day, and he said it perfectly. He said, we were all kids in the Willy Wonka. Essentially, it was like we were all kids again, and we were all fine with it. I know some people aren't as outgoing or sociable as like me or you or others, but even the people that are shy, they kind of got out of their space, and we were all just together, hanging out, and it was just this energy, this electric energy around. Everyone was happy. I didn't see no one was not having a good time. It didn't matter where you came from. Like it was just all one big group and this massive ball of energy. So I'd say, yeah, people ranks at the top, I guess, for me.
I definitely saw hints of fanboy coming out from you around
Yeah,
people. So
I just love Mike. So I'm such a big fan of what he does and who he is and how he, represents it. And I know he's not political, but he is, and he does all these great things. And he has, he doesn't really care at the same time, and he's just so down to earth. He just everybody, if you want to go up to him and get something signed, hang out with him, take a photo. Um, he's just that guy that's just kind of your neighbor, your friend. And I definitely once I had a couple of drinks with me, I was definitely like, I'm gonna hang out with Mike.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I don't get, it's hard to hang out with if you don't have an event to go to, because he just works at home and he likes to do his thing. So
In
yeah,
the it's interesting too with the people like with the hot button topic of utility. Like
yeah,
there's nobody really cares about utility. It's a Beeple. That's the utility. It's like
yeah, yeah,
good art, and he's the goat. He's the goat.
yeah,
So
definitely.
I want to bring up one topic and just get your take on commercial rights. So
Hmm.
Mega OGs, we're supposed to hear some news about like basically unleashing the commercial rights. Obviously, Board Apes have commercial rights. Moonbirds fall into that weird where they decide to switch up the commercial rights.
Yeah.
Um, where do you stand on that? How important is that? And what advantages do you see? Not necessarily that you're going to use commercial rights, but just the overall space.
That is a very interesting topic because I think a lot of people kind of jumped on the CCO commercial rights and like usage and like, but they're not going to 95% of the people are not going to do anything. They
Hmm.
they don't really know what to do with it. They don't know how to utilize it. So it really doesn't mean anything. And I think a lot of the projects kind of knew that. So they said, well, we'll just do it because 5% of people are going to do something about it, have the funds or the means to actually propel it into a real commercial business. And
Hmm.
that will just make it better for us in the long run because it's not too much, it's not competing with us too much. So that's more the harsh reality of it to me. Um, Personally, I do think there's a couple things I want to do. I'm not going to say it on the show or anything. I guess I won't give any alpha, but there's things I want to do with my commercial rights for sure. But I have a business mindset and I had a business for a long time, and I still have a business, and I have a normie job as well that I have full time. So everybody watching, I'm not a full time art collector. This is just half of my life, so I don't actually sleep. So I just go to work, then then I'm an art collector, and then I'm go back to work. So my sleep is the art world. That's why I can see how some of my tweets are crazy. But to your point, I mean, if like a coup, if there was more of like help, I think for people to use the commercial rights, if there was a team or backing a utility by being an owner, not just here you go do something. Yeah, good luck. Maybe have commercial rights plus a team or someone to help you actually
Hmm.
utilize the commercial rights because that otherwise, like I said, it's just saying something, to me.
Hmm. So
So
if Micah calls you up and says, "You know what, man, I need you to steer the ship. You get your captain, Captain Blue Orgy of the Aku
yeah.
liner. What is your focus? Like, where do you see like this Aku project and what they really need to kind of focus to? I like if obviously I hold big bags, but like I think it's kind of criminal when I see how all these other projects are flooding and stuff, and they're still their floor, their prices are so much higher than ours, you know.
Yeah.
So what would you say if you have the big boy hat on?
I think I would kind of go. That's a good question. You put me on the spot with that one. I'm trying to think. If I was just, I guess, off the cuff, I would kind of approach it like kind of what you were saying before, take it to that next level. I think having the Aku World be a big event on its own, not part of Art Basel or not part of New York, kind of what the Bored Apes things are doing, but they have their own thing. But make a Cool World this big event where you're able to actually figure out what you can use your coup for or join the community and like you said that have a collective of people together, talks and understanding and kind of centralize it around the coup world. So I think I would go for trying to throw a big it sounds a little weird just saying it off cup, have a big event, but because it was so much fun even in Basel to have that room and like the call, trying to find the QR code
Yeah.
around the room, which we were able to do. me and my wife were able, she was able to grab one, and then she, I didn't cheat, I kind of scanned it off her phone, but whatever. We got two there. It was fun. Uh, just make it a fun environment where people can come in and understand. To start there, and then just try to bring it out because Micah's connections, I think, to be able to just take it to the next level and talk, that's what he's doing, I think, right? That's the direction he's going. But I think, like you said, if he focused more on that, and I would maybe focus more on the branding, the big branding aspect of it first, and we can help a lot of people, you know, get to space, or get to the moon, which I just love the message. The message is there. We have the message. I think it just needs to be spread. So I guess it's my 2 minute answer, but
No, it's great.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, we're all searching for answers, and
yeah,
trying to put in our 2 cents. So, I think, I saw like with the Bored Apes last night. I guess everyone was just put like they made Bored Apes trend on Twitter. You know,
yeah. I did mine as well, but yeah,
like
yeah,
it's just, but there's collectives and there's things like they seem so simple, but like that's real execution. Like um, of course when you're at the top as far as the Bored Apes are, it's again it goes back to that community. It's like community is pretty easy to be an awesome place when you're on top of the leaderboard. But
yeah. No,
yeah,
it's true. I think, but there is a lot of like crypto punks in the Bored Apes. Who could get there? It just needs, maybe we have too many. Uh, no, nothing against any of the holders out there, but maybe there's too many flippers that tried to enter with a coup. And I know that there is flippers in Bored Ape, but there's actually this. If you really look at the numbers, 80% of the collection is with people that are probably not going to sell
hmm
just at all ever. So, but that's still a huge number of Bored Apes, which could bring the floor way down. With a
right.
coup, maybe we have, I don't know, what would you say the percentage of true believer holders in a coup,
You know,
like right now, today, I
I
guess.
would say like out of the moon, there's definitely the moon gods and the megas. So that's roughly like between 500 and 1,000.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, so if you just took that, I think there's a lot of people actually in the Aku space that have it and don't even like they just have it. Like it's almost
yeah,
kind of like the jogathon. Like you come around once a year, they write a check and give you a big donation. They support
yeah,
the cause, but then they don't really engage with it until the following year. So I think there's a lot of people that have their Akutars or chapters and just never revisit it, and they're just sitting there. Um, to your point, like the flippers, like the percentage on OpenSea has always been right around 3% listed, and half of those listings are like 42069, type thing.
yeah, yeah,
So to your point, like I think that there's definitely like some we're not immune to like the Weath offer flips for like $50.
the
I think
blur stuff.
I think
Yeah,
that I think there's a lack of education, but like people just don't care. Like it would behoove us to kind of just stop taking those offers,
yeah,
But at the same time, every time that happens, there's it's more volume, it's activity, you know.
it's up there. It shows it a little higher. So, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. It's a back and forth. There's a play there.
I think you have to have those gamblers and the degens, and I think something happened. We've talked about this actually before, where either we alienated them or like
Yeah,
they kind of left our project, and like I think there needs to be some kind of element to that to
yeah.
make community projects hype and things like that. Like so,
No, it's true. Like Pranks, he did it well for a lot of things. He's doing it right now for Doodles, right? So,
yeah.
and
But
I know he's the moon god as well, right? So
yeah, he's got the most Akutars, I believe. He's got like 300 or something. But then
he's
he,
held them too. So yeah,
yeah, yeah. So I think a big part of those days too, where you're like sweeping floors, and that made things like go crazy. I think those days are kind of over. It's like, oh, well, good
It's
for you.
tough. Yeah, it's tough to make a. I mean, you saw with the Bored Apes, even when he picked up all the Blur stuff. It didn't really move anything even with Bored Apes, but then it was a big deal and he sold. But
Yeah,
I think with a coup, I didn't look at the floor of coup. I'll probably go today and take a look at that floor now. Not going to say I'm going to go sweep like crazy, but maybe I will pick up some.
yeah,
Uh, because I'm in the problem. I mean, I know we got a couple minutes, but the the problem with me, I guess, for me, and I guess other people, like you said, they have a coups in their wallet. I'm not going to say I'm the most active Aku person of ever. People know I have Akus, and I talk to you and I talk to the Aku people, occasionally, but I'm not a huge, super active guy either. And that's because I've collected, back to the art collector slash degen, I'm in like 100 communities,
yeah,
you know, and
yeah.
I try my best because I love all of them. And I love the people that I've met and the
Mm.
artists. And like I said, in real life, it's huge. But I'm definitely spread too thin when it comes to communities, and I tried to focus in on the ones that matter. But a lot of times it's like my CryptoPunk friends or um, mostly just small collective of artists, and we're on different. We cross in different discords, right? And I think I showed you my phone every time. Like there's keep
Yeah,
on scrolling. There's 100 discords, and and I'll tell everybody on the podcast. I go through my DMs. I go through all my discords,
yeah.
and I have a full-time job. So please bear with me sometimes. I'm here to, I love that, but
I think you can relate to this. I tell because people ask like, when do you sleep? And I'm like, oh,
yeah,
my life is a series of naps.
yeah.
Like if I can get an hour or two here, great. If sometimes I'll get like crazy, like 8 to 10 hours.
Oh, 8 hours. Jeez.
But it's like because I passed out. I'm on the West Coast too. It's because I
Yeah.
passed out, and for whatever reason, my phone didn't ring and wake me up. And those are interesting. I actually wake up like disoriented. Like what day is it? Like, did
Am
I?
I still in South Carolina? Is Blu30rgy over there? No,
So
yeah.
I want to get out on our little puff pieces. My biggest potpourri question for you is what I don't know how well traveled you are, but where would you like to see like just an awesome IRL NFT event where you could like so it's more about the location and the city, not necessarily promoting the project and stuff, but like, you know, I give you an example. Like we went Loveox and I went to Galaverse and it was in Malta. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would have never gone to Malta had
Yeah.
Gala not been there. So like a place that like you think would be really cool that you want to go to and you'd love that there would be like an NFT thing around it.
No, that's a great question. Well, luckily, I'll point out that I'm very, very lucky to be very well traveled. I've been to like over 40 countries. I've made it a point early on to travel and to, experience life that way as much as I could. So any opportunity I had, especially in art school, I was actually chosen to show my work at the Beijing Academy of Arts
Oh
because I
wow.
was early interactive work with Flash. I
Huh.
know Flash. I had some Flash stuff, and they're like, "This is amazing. Come over." And I was handpicked with a couple other design students, and that was a fantastic experience to go to Beijing and to Hong Kong and the Great Wall. I think I think I'll answer this in two ways, I guess. The most interesting one I would want to go to because I missed the chance to do it is maybe like Antarctica. Like have an event in Antarctica.
Wow.
That would be fucking cool. Like, take the big plane over, the big Russian plane,
Yeah.
and have like an event in Antarctica, and that would put some NFTs on the map. I think it doesn't matter what program or what community it would be. The
Yeah.
a coup, we're almost to the moon because we went to Antarctica. We got a little closer, you know. And I think the more reasonable one, I mean, even places I've been, and there probably is some like Prague is nice or Poland,
Mhm.
and I'm just going to disregard any tensions of war or anything like that
Yeah.
going on right now. But even Russia was a beautiful place. I loved going to Russia. Amazing people. Uh, the opposite of anything you'd ever hear. I mean, now I think we're seeing it and hearing it more. How there's some really amazing Russian people, and they're super nice and they really get it, but and they're against all this stuff. But I think going to Russia, having an event there would be really cool. And, yeah, in Antarctica and maybe somewhere down in Argentina. Like I've been to the Gazu Falls. Having an event there would be, I think, epic. And having everybody in the boat just get soaked. Yeah,
Did
that's
you
what
go to Patagonia down like in Chile? Did
I
you?
went to, yeah, Chile. Yep, I went all around there. That's because my aunt was running the marathon there. She's
Oh,
actually run all 7 continents. And when I said Antarctica, she ran Antarctica as well. Um, and so at 75 now, 75, 74. Anyways, yeah, at 74, oldest person. Well, now you know who my aunt is. Okay. If you want to Google it, go ahead. You already, I'm already doxxed anyway. So whatever, you'll find out if you just there's a pretty easy Google now to find out who I am. But yeah, she's amazing. She's done like over 40 marathons. So part
that's
of the travel has been to go support her in
yeah,
Australia and all around the world. So very lucky in business, family, and school and art have let me travel. So
you got one of my favorite places in the world, Prague. Like
yeah,
the
I absolutely love Prague. It was yeah,
the astronomical clock, like in that
yep.
center, and the Trendlix, the uh the the waffle ice cream, soft serve ice cream, which all the locals tell me is like just for the tourists, but I was like, I don't care. It's amazing.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know. Oh,
There's absinthe there. There's a really strong hookah. Uh, I two of 30-second story when I was in Prague. This is a while ago, right off that famous bridge where everybody like kisses on and does that. I threw up on that bridge because I took absinthe. I didn't realize I did hookah,
yeah.
and I guess hookah there is like 10x stronger than like doing the hookah in American place, right? Which I
Right.
didn't know. And we were having little shots of absinthe. So I was just
Yeah. Yeah.
gone. And I somehow made my way back to the hostel after trying to avoid all the gypsies trying to steal, like, oh, you like pretty women? You should come with me. I'm like, thank God my mindset was get home because that's when they steal your insides or whatever, right? So I
Yeah.
avoided the gypsies and I made it home, but that's that's my quick Prague. Other than that, I loved Prague. It was absolutely a beautiful place. And
Yeah.
Poland, Prague, Slovakia, got to climb the mountains in Slovakia and see one of the most spectacular views I've ever seen in my life. So
That's
yeah,
awesome. We could have a whole new show on just the travel
yeah.
of the moon god, because I've done a lot myself. Uh, I don't think we ever got the origin of Blu30rgy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. The very final note will be it's not even that cool. I was playing Counter-Strike back. I was like 15, 16. I started playing when it was Counter-Strike 1.5. And if whoever, how nerdy the guests are, they'll know what I'm talking about. And I needed a handle, and I didn't really have one. So I kept on playing Counter-Strike and I just nothing really clicked. I was doing some weird, I don't even know what they are anymore because Blue Orgy really stuck with me. But I was listening to Blue Monday, the cover by Orgy the band.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, while I was playing, and I loved, Spin Me Right Round by Orgy. And again, I don't know how nerdy I'm going a deep hole. Like, Orgy's a band? What are you talking about?
Yep.
Like, top 100 songs, MTV, 1999, something like that. Blue Monday by Orgy. Yeah. So you can just see I put it together, and everybody put numbers in their names. So I'm like, oh, that works out perfect. I could put like a 0 and a 3 right in
Yeah.
the middle, and Blue Orgy came, and then I started playing Counter Strike. And once I started headshotting some people, they're like, "Dan, there's Blue Orgy coming around," and it kind of stuck with me. I was like, "This name's awesome," and it just has stuck with me ever since. As a online handle, as a gaming handle, and
Mhm.
then it became my art collector name because it just made sense. I
Yeah.
wasn't. It didn't come to me right away. I'm just like, oh, I should use that to be, put a name behind my collection and not just be, this guy. It should be a persona or a brand or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, my first handle, like in the instant messenger days, was ASU Laxer.
Yeah,
And I was Appalachian State and Laxer. I played lacrosse like for like a season. Like I wasn't
yeah,
even a real lacrosse player. Then I was like, well, Laxer means like I'm laid back, like it works. But it's just funny how you like especially back then, like just your emails, like the Yahoo AOL days,
Yeah.
like what we came up with. It never made sense to like actually be professional, and like all the
Yeah.
Gmail names are so professional. And then
Yeah.
I wrote the book, The Bartending Therapist, so my Twitter is
Ah,
Bar Therapist.
yes. Yep.
But like thank you Saturday Night Live and Celebrity Jeopardy. Everyone says bartending the rapist,
Ugh,
like
yeah.
every time. So you know, JWowLax
Unfortunate.
was born in Web3. So
Yeah.
here we are.
Yeah.
Final question,
Sure.
and the key to this is that you have to help us get them on. Who would you like to see on the podcast? That would be really interesting, but you have to help us get them on.
Let's see who would be cool. So many people come to mind. And I don't know who you've had from from the artists or anything that on the show before.
Mhm.
Uh, have you had a Ness on? I mean, he might be cool to, Ness
We
Graphics. And
we had Ness on the first iteration of this podcast
oh,
back
cool.
in the Top
Yeah.
Shot
Oh,
days.
because yeah, Top Shots. I mean, and I know I collected. We talked about that. We all collected that. So I think uh you could have like threesomes on your show. I think that'd be super interesting from the Teslas community.
Uh,
He's a really good podcast guest.
okay,
So, and I think you definitely do it. So, I mean, if you want me to just tell him, jump on this podcast with you and have a blast with him, you'd have your show on utility because he's the master. In my opinion, he really gets utility.
okay.
He,
That'd be
actual utility mechanics. He actually thinks about it and actually and gets it right. So the utility play episode would be with threesomes, and people like, if you don't know his name, I guess our space, a pretty good amount of people know his name, and they don't think it's just going to be a show on threesomes. But you had Blu30rgy on your show. Why not have
I need
threesomes?
to put a buffer between the Blue Orgy and the threesome episodes. It's like
Like, where is this podcast gone?
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, man, this has been awesome. We went a little long, so hopefully that didn't put you out. But
Oh
good
no.
times. And I think we definitely every time we have an IRL, well, not LA, but when we have like a big IRL, we might have to get you on the show and do like a recap or something.
Yeah.
Because I
Well,
think that people really NFT NYC their first was massive, and they've
yeah.
kind of tapered off since then. But I think when people actually kind of see, like if you actually didn't know what NFTs or digital was, and you saw that Beeple, I don't care if you're an art lover or not, like that room, that interactive room
Yeah.
was just fire. So
Normal people, normies would anybody they would think it's like this experience, this immersive experience, which they have those things, and normal people go to them, right? Normal
yeah,
people
Van
go.
Gogh
Yeah,
is like sold out in LA like every
yeah,
weekend. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but
absolutely.
LA will be fun. We head off in 2 days, so we'll be there.
All
Yeah,
right. Well, for Blue Orgy, I'm JwowLax. This has been another episode of the Moon God Pod. Don't forget, subscribe, comment. If you made it this far in the show, you might as well help us get the word out.
yeah,
Just trying to promote the amazing vision of Micah Johnson and the Aku project, and you know, give some insight into Web3. So for that, we will see you next time.